What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Sunday, March 2nd, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 17:01 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and the Middle East. But before I get into that, I want to show you guys some interesting flights that occurred last night over the Tex-Mex border area. So here we have the flight path of a strategic reconnaissance plane flying along the border of Texas and Mexico. It deployed out of Offutt Air Base, which is home of U.S. Strategic Command. So this recon plane had to have been ordered by the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to fly along the border of Texas and Mexico last night. And then at the same time, we had a P-8 Poseidon sub-hunter out of Jacksonville Naval Air Station, which is the home of the P-8 Poseidons, fly along the Tex-Mex border as well. Okay, now P-8 Poseidons are sub-hunter planes, and they're not typically used to fly over land areas, but now the U.S. is using them to patrol the border with Mexico. So this is clearly a sign that the U.S. is preparing to at least strike the cartels with missiles or drones, potentially to launch special operations raids, and maybe even invade parts of Mexico and create a buffer zone along the border with the U.S. I think it could happen, guys, okay? The U.S. just transferred thousands of more troops to the border of Mexico, including an elite striker brigade, a brigade combat team from Fort Carson, okay, which typically they deploy those brigade combat teams to Eastern Europe to counter Russian threats in the Baltics. Well, they've actually deployed one of these brigade combat teams out of Fort Carson, Colorado, to the border of Mexico, okay? This is not some kind of light infantry. We're talking about a striker brigade, okay, with a 30 millimeter Bushmaster chain gun on each one of these strikers, okay? And they're trained for major combat situations, and they're deploying these to the border of Mexico, okay? So potentially we could see an invasion of Mexico to create a buffer zone with the U.S. We could see strikes on the cartels from the air, or potentially even special operations raids. We know that Trump yesterday signed off on allowing field commanders to make decisions without having to go up the chain of command, basically giving them more flexibility in doing these types of operations, specifically special operations, raids, and things like that. Okay, so just wanted to update you guys on the situation there. And we have some major breaking news coming in from Israel. So supposedly some leaked, classified, top secret documents are circling the internet saying that Israel will conduct a large-scale military preemptive strike on Iran's nuclear sites, potentially as early as this week. The authenticity of these documents cannot be confirmed, but after initial analysis, it seems likely that these are indeed leaked, classified, top secret documents, and I'm not going to share them here on this channel because that's illegal. If they are real, they could be fake, but the leak appears in 3 separate images uploaded to the publicly accessible website 4chan. The first page appears to be a summary page outlining that U.S. intelligence has confirmed that Israel is in its final planning stage for a major military aerial assault and a cyber offensive attack upon Iran's nuclear sites to take place in early March. And the other images appear to show which Iranian nuclear sites will be attacked. So major breaking news. Also, Israeli Channel 12 reported last night that Israel is preparing to call up 400,000 reserve soldiers, guys. That is insane. when you consider the fact that Israel currently only has 460,000 reserve soldiers on standby. So basically they're calling up over 90% of their reserves. I don't know if this is because of a war with Egypt, a war with Iran, or potentially they're going to go into Gaza. I don't know, okay? But we know that Egypt has been violating the Sinai Agreement, and they've been stationing hundreds and hundreds of tanks on the border of Israel. So potentially there could be a war with Egypt. We'll have to wait and see. But Israel calling up 400,000 reserves. Also, the U.S. signed an emergency $3 billion arms sale to Israel. The Trump administration just fast-tracked nearly $3 billion in weapons to Israel, bypassing Congress and citing an emergency for U.S. national security. The deal includes over 35,000 bombs, thousands of warheads, and hundreds of armored bulldozers. Deliveries will start next year, with some shipments stretching into 2028. 35,000 bombs, guys. Okay, and the Trump administration bypassed Congress on that, citing an emergency for U.S. national security. So what could that be? Very interesting. And the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, signed documents yesterday enabling the acceleration of the delivery of $4 billion worth of military aid to Israel that was withheld by the Biden administration, okay? So basically $7 billion worth of weapons going to Israel on an emergency basis. And the French President Emmanuel Macron expressed readiness to discuss the establishment of a nuclear deterrence policy for Europe at an upcoming EU emergency meeting on March 6th. Okay, so they had an emergency meeting today, and then on March 6th, they're going to have another emergency meeting. But Emmanuel Macron basically wants to provide a nuclear shield for Europe, because France is Europe's only true nuclear power. Yes, the UK has nuclear weapons, but the UK gets their nuclear weapons from the US. The UK has 4 ballistic missile submarines, and they use American Trident missiles in their submarines. Now, the UK does build their own warheads for those missiles, so they build their own nuclear warheads, but they're reliant on the US for the Trident missiles, okay? Versus France has a domestically produced nuclear triad, okay? So they have air, land, and sea nuclear weapons, okay? They have the Mirage 2000 fighter jets that they can use to deploy air-launched hypersonic missiles that have a range of hundreds of miles, and they deploy the TN-81 nuclear warhead, which has a blast yield of up to 300 kilotons, so that's nothing to sneeze at. And then they have 4 nuclear-armed submarines that launch the M51 ICBM. And then they also have some ground-based missiles as well. Okay, so France has a nuclear triad, and so they're in a position to protect Europe. And if France ever wanted to expand their arsenal, which maybe now they're going to have to because of what's going on just to the east of them, they could potentially have enough weapons to fight against Russia in a nuclear war. And he also said that he hopes the French army could even position nuclear weapons in partner countries in conjunction with their armies. Wow, okay, so huge news there. Macron wants to provide a nuclear shield to Europe and even arm other countries in Europe with French nuclear weapons and replace American nuclear weapons. Wow. And Macron also responded to what Trump said on Friday in the Oval Office when he was arguing with Zelensky, and said Zelensky was playing with World War III. Macron responded to that and said that if anyone is playing with World War III, it's Vladimir Putin. Macron said that he brought 10,000 North Korean soldiers to Europe. He begged for Iranian drones and is now aiding Iran's nuclear program in return to wage war in Europe. And there was an emergency summit in Britain today. At the summit, the British Prime Minister said that A Ukrainian peace deal must include the Russian Federation, but Russians cannot dictate the terms. He also said, we will send troops to Ukraine to protect the implementation of the results of the future peace agreement. He also apologized to the Baltic countries for not inviting them to the summit in London today. This was announced by the advisor to the president of Lithuania. And Trump ordered national security officials to check whether the U.S. can temporarily or completely stop current arms shipments to Ukraine, according to the Wall Street Journal. For now, the U.S. president has taken a wait-and-see approach. He plans to monitor Zelensky's future actions. At the same time, the Financial Times wrote that Ukraine will be able to hold out against Russia even without U.S. help for at least 6 months. And Zelensky said today, after the emergency meeting in the UK, that he believes he can save the relationship with Trump and wants to sign the minerals deal. And the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer also said a new deal has been approved to provide Ukraine with more than 5,000 British air defense missiles. Wow. And Putin signed a law ratifying the security treaty with Belarus over the weekend. Russia can now officially deploy military troops and bases in Belarus and use nuclear weapons to defend Belarus and Russia, even in response to conventional attacks. Okay, so Putin is getting ready to attack the Baltics and Poland. They're going to be moving 150,000 troops into Belarus this summer, and Belarus is already doing drills right now. They're calling up their reserves, and they're practicing the mass redeployment of forces. Okay, they're doing that right now. Okay, and then the Russian troops are going to be coming in this summer, so they're preparing to attack Eastern Europe. That's why Putin ratified this law now, so he can nuke Europe if Europe starts attacking Belarus. Okay, this basically extends Russia's nuclear shield over Belarus. Okay, and this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video. And Norwegian fuel company Haltback Bunkers has announced it will cease supplying fuel to U.S. military forces in Norway and American ships docking in Norwegian ports, citing dissatisfaction with recent U.S. policy towards Ukraine. In a strongly worded statement, the company criticized a televised event involving U.S. President Donald Trump and Vice President Vance, referring to it as the quote-unquote biggest shit show ever presented on live TV. Haltback Bunkers praised Ukrainian President Zelensky for his restraint, accusing the U.S. of putting on a backstabbing TV show and declaring that the spectacle made us sick. As a result, the company stated, "We have decided to immediately stop as fuel provider to American forces in Norway and their ships calling Norwegian ports. No fuel to Americans." Wow. Very strong words there from the Norwegian fuel company. And North Korea has successfully conducted a strategic cruise missile test in the Yellow Sea overseen by Kim Jong-un. The test was described as part of counterattack drills aimed at demonstrating and enhancing the country's nuclear deterrence capabilities in response to what Pyongyang perceives as hostile actions from the U.S. The nuclear-capable missiles precisely hit the target after making a flight along a 1,600-kilometer long oval trajectory, the North Korean state media reported. So these are nuclear-capable strategic cruise missiles. Okay, these are basically like a North Korean Tomahawk missile. Okay, this is very, very concerning, and the media is not talking about this. Everybody's obsessing over the argument with Trump and Zelensky on Friday. Meanwhile, North Korea is literally testing new missiles, 1,000-mile range cruise missiles comparable to our Tomahawks that can carry nuclear warheads. Okay, very, very concerning. And the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, supervised the test launch of the strategic cruise missiles and ordered full readiness to use nuclear attack capability, which would ensure the most effective defense for the country, state media said on Friday. The test was designed to warn enemies who are seriously violating the security environment of the country and fostering and escalating the confrontation environment, and to demonstrate readiness of its various nuclear operations means. Wow. Okay, so Kim Jong-un ordering full readiness to use nuclear attack capability. What is guaranteed by powerful striking ability is the most perfect deterrence and defense capacity, the KCNA quoted Kim Jong-un as saying. It is the responsible mission and duty of the DPRK's nuclear armed forces to permanently defend the national sovereignty and security with the reliable nuclear shield by getting more thorough battle readiness of nuclear force and full preparedness for their use. Wow. Okay, so Kim Jong-un getting ready to go to nuclear war with South Korea and the U.S. Very, very concerning. So we have to be on very, very high alert, guys, okay? Don't get distracted by all the other stuff going on. And Israel has accepted a U.S. proposal for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip over Ramadan and Passover. And the leader of NATO, Mark Rutte, reportedly told Zelensky that he needs to find a way to restore his relationship with Trump after their clash at the White House meeting. This was reported by Reuters. We really have to respect what President Trump has done so far for Ukraine. Without the javelins in 2022, Ukraine would have been nowhere. I told him we really have to give Trump credit for what he did then, what America did since then, and also what America is still doing. Okay, so. And the New York Times is reporting that the U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth ordered the U.S. Cyber Command to halt offensive cyber operations against Russia. And the Trump administration is sending additional active duty service members to the U.S. southern border, according to the U.S. Northern Command, as President Trump continues to make border security and curbing undocumented immigration a priority. Nearly 2,400 soldiers from Fort Carson in Colorado and around 500 service members from Fort Stewart in Georgia will assist in machine operation, medical evacuation, and administrative support. They will not be tasked with carrying out deportations, according to a statement from the U.S. Northern Command. So 2,400 soldiers from Fort Carson, that's a Stryker Brigade combat team typically deployed to Poland and Lithuania, is now on the border of Mexico. It sounds like they're preparing for an invasion. And 18 people were arrested in Romania in the case of the former pro-Russian presidential candidate Calin Georgescu, including his son Dorian and brother Alexander. On February 26th, Romanian law enforcement officers conducted 50 searches of individuals associated with Georgescu. The searches took place at the homes of 27 people and the offices of 4 companies. During the searches, security forces found weapons, ammunition, and gold bars weighing a total of 25 kilograms, as well as cash over $3.3 million, 700,000 LEI, 43,000 euros, 13,000 dirhams, and 21,000 dinars. He was accused of inciting anti-constitutional activity, spreading false information, creating a fascist organization, glorifying people accused of genocide, and creating an anti-Semitic community. And Elon Musk posted on X yesterday that he wants the U.S. to leave NATO and the UN, and Russian and Chinese security services are trying to recruit U.S. federal security employees who were laid off after the change of administration or feel they may be laid off in the near future. So they're looking for disgruntled American employees that were fired by the Trump administration to basically divulge secrets to the Russians and the Chinese. That's not good. And the UK will provide a £2.6 billion loan to Ukraine to strengthen their defense. And Trump signed an executive order yesterday designating English as the official language of the U.S. And this afternoon, we have U.S. nuclear forces on very high alert for some reason. Here we have 2 nuclear war command and control planes that were circling over Arkansas and Louisiana. And then here's a picture from today of the emergency summit in the UK. You can see all the European big dogs here, including the Canadian Prime Minister. We have Zelensky here, Keir Starmer, Macron, the Polish Prime Minister, the Italian Prime Minister there. We have Mark Rutte in the background there. We have the Finnish president over here. I don't know who all these other people are. Oh, and Schultz is back here as well, which is interesting because there was just an election in Germany, so he's no longer the chancellor. And then here's a meeting of Zelensky, Starmer, and Macron. Okay, this was this afternoon. And then here we have Zelensky meeting King Charles. Very interesting. Okay, and here we have a picture of the North Korean cruise missile. You can see it looks basically like an American Tomahawk. Okay, so 1,000-mile range and is nuclear capable. Very concerning. We also had a lot of reconnaissance in Eastern Europe last night. We also had a high-priority recon plane moved from Qatar to the UK, which could indicate that the U.S. is going to be doing some high-priority reconnaissance missions in Europe, or potentially they're going to move this plane back to the U.S. if Trump decides to remove American reconnaissance capabilities from Eastern Europe, which I've heard they're considering doing, especially for Ukraine. They're talking about cutting Ukraine out of American intelligence sharing because America provides satellite information to Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine doesn't have its own satellites, so the U.S. gives them satellite information on Russian forces, and also the U.S. has sentry planes in Romania that they use to keep an eye on the Black Sea. And anytime there's a missile attack on Ukraine, they deploy E-3 AWACS planes to monitor the cruise missiles flying towards Ukraine. And here we have a private recon plane that was circling Kaliningrad last night. Here we have a NATO AWACS plane and a private recon plane in Romania patrolling the Black Sea and Moldova. And then here we have the tweet from Elon Musk. He quoted Gunther Eagleman, who said it's time to leave NATO and the UN, and then he said, I agree. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. Check out my app. It's available for free in the Google Play Store. We're almost done with the Apple version, but it's 100% free, and it allows me to send out notifications to you when things are happening. I can give you updates directly through the app, and also when I post videos like this one, I send out notifications through the app. So if you have the app, you'll never miss an update. And if something crazy is going on, then I can update you in real time through the app. Okay, so you don't have to wait for my video, or you don't have to jump on a live stream. You can just get updates through your phone if something crazy is going on. And I have a link to the app in the description below this video. I want to give a big thanks to True Templar. You might see him sometimes in the live streams. He's the guy behind this. He's the guy that created the app for Android, and now we have someone else helping us with the Apple app. Big thanks to True Templar. He's volunteered his free time to build this app for me. So if you see True Templar in the comments or in the live streams, just give him a big thanks. And that's it for now, guys. I might be back later on tonight with more breaking news. Also, follow me on Twitter and Telegram. The links to my X and Telegram are in the description below this video. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.